Hello, hello. It has been a hot minute since I have made a video. Some unexpected things happened, and it actually gave me a really good idea for a really short video for you guys, and that is all about preparation. So I thought I had lots of time to get prepared for the busy holiday season. For me, I start to see a lot of orders generally starting early November and then all the way through as late as people want to risk getting things shipped to them. So I thought I had a lot of time, and in November we had a kind of a freak windstorm here. It was extremely unusual, maybe the worst windstorm that Western Washington has seen in recordable history. It was pretty extreme, and we lost power for about 5 days. There were power lines down in my neighborhood all over the place, trees and power lines. Honestly, it's a miracle a tree didn't fall on my house. It was just so scary just that night. It was kind of, if Washington State could get a hurricane, it was kind of like a hurricane, basically. There were 90-mile-per-hour winds in certain areas. So without power and without having access to a lot of things, like we didn't get garbage service, it was just really sketchy, just for regular things that, we're used to having for that time. That went up until about the end of that, when things started to get all fixed and everything, was only a few days before Thanksgiving. And so I wasn't really able to prepare the way I normally would. I was super stressed out. As soon as we got our power back, I was making up for lost time on laundry, doing the dishes, just taking a hot shower. We have a generator, so we weren't in as bad of a spot as some people were, but you can't just have a generator and expect everything to be fine, because you have to constantly be refueling the generator, and you have to keep going back to the gas station to buy more gas. Some of the gas stations were closed for a while. I don't know if there was a shortage or if they just didn't have power there or whatnot. That was the reason for that, but it really just put us behind on all of our regular things. And on top of that, it's November, it's getting colder. We could only heat parts of the house at a time. We were trying to conserve electricity the best that we could, and I work from home, a 9-to-5 job, so I had to make sure to be covering that. So anyway, I'm only mentioning this because I thought I had more time than I did to really sit down and plan. And that's the thing, is you can't procrastinate planning. So just a little something I wanted to put out there. It's a little too late right now to be planning for your holiday sales. If you are making holiday sales this year, you've already made a lot of holiday sales this year, and it's getting close to being kind of over with. But what I suggest, whether you're just starting out or whether you just have had the fortune of not having to plan for a bunch of problems, issues, things like that, is just sit down with a notebook or a journal or whatever you have and write down some worst case scenarios. What would you do if your power was out for 5 days? What would you do if you shipped out 10 packages and 5 of them just suddenly didn't show any tracking? What would you do if you've got 5 emails in one day with customers complaining that their products showed up broken? Just some random examples. What would you do in these cases? If you are a newer seller, you might not have thought ahead as to how you're going to handle complaints, things you think might be a scam and someone's trying to scam you, whether it's things getting lost in the mail, delayed in the mail. What are your parameters? And you kind of need to think of all the scenarios the best you can, but of course keep in mind that you're never going to think of all the scenarios. So that's another thing to think about, is keep that list, and then when something else happens that you never expected to happen before, add it to the list and put things in your shop policy. What happens if somebody tries to cancel after they order it? How long do they have before you're not okay with them canceling the order because you've already started it? What happens if someone reaches out to you and they want a personalized product, but they want to see it before they order it? Are you willing to do that? Or do you want them to go ahead and prepay for it before you're willing to start working on it? Because this is something that happens. What are you going to do if a family member reaches out to you and asks you for a discount? What kind of discount are you willing to give to a friend or family member? What are you going to discount if someone wants to buy something in bulk? Are you willing to discount that? And really look at the numbers and ask yourself. Another thing that I really had to evaluate this year, and I've talked to my hubby about it, and I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do, is there's certain items that I've been making that I feel like are taking me too long to make, but I'm also not sure that I could raise the prices enough to make it worth it to keep making it, because the item just doesn't seem like it's worth that much. Sorry, I was kind of shaking the camera there. I'm just like moving around a lot, but it didn't seem like it was worth enough to increase the prices to a point that I feel it's worth my time to be making. And all of that stuff takes a lot of time and energy. Another thing that came up was my packaging. I have these little boxes that I put my magnets and ornaments in and stuff when I ship them. And I have 2 different sizes that I generally use. And I think maybe I have one left. I am completely out pretty much of the larger of the 2 sizes. So depending on what orders I get, I'm almost done now. I just shipped out a whole bunch of stuff today. Got a couple orders in the works, but they're all really small. But if I get larger orders, I'm not going to have boxes for them, and I'm going to have to figure out something else to do with that, and that's something I'm going to have to decide. But yeah, it's just people get sick, people get injured. What happens if you're a crafter and you injure your hand really bad and you realize you can't do the things you normally do with your hands? Are you going to put your shop on vacation mode? Are you going to push out all your listings? You got to think about these things in advance and kind of plan for what would you do in these different scenarios. What would you do if a tree fell on your house and you had to go stay at a hotel, or with a friend or a family member or something? All of those different scenarios out there, you have to kind of be prepared for. That could happen. And another thing to think about is the ordering of supplies. What if you spend a bunch of money on ordering a bunch of supplies and then something like that happens and you have to cancel all your orders, and you can't, or you delay them or whatnot and give refunds? And is that going to be too hard on you financially? So you have to kind of prepare financially as well. I see a lot of new sellers. I see it really bad on the print on demand side of selling, like on Etsy and things, where people just don't realize, I have to pay to have that shirt printed by Printify, but Etsy's going to hold my money for 3 weeks or however long. Well, how do I pay for that? And it's like, if you have literally $0 extra in your bank account and you don't have any supplies to make the items, or enough supplies to make a bunch of items, or to ship, you don't have any money to ship the items out, you have to keep it in mind when you're working with these different online sellers. There's different time frames of how long it takes to get the money. And Goimagine is the best about that. Stripe gives you your money fairly quickly, except for the first sale. The first sale takes a little bit longer, but after that first sale goes through and everything, then it's usually fine from there, but it still isn't immediate. So you don't want to be waiting around to go and buy that yarn to crochet that thing that you said you would ship in 2 days if you literally have no money or a credit card or any means to go and buy that supply item. So it's just thinking of all of those different scenarios. It's really overwhelming when you first start selling online, to think of those things, because you just hadn't thought of it. Makes sense. It's completely reasonable to be in that mindset, but this is me telling you, get a list and start thinking about all of the different scenarios. What would you do? How many orders is too many orders to where you can't keep up? That can happen. So do you have somebody who could help you in some aspect to package orders if you got that busy? Now, sometimes, if you've been really slow and you haven't made a lot of sales yet and you're new, you're just like, I just never thought that would happen to me. But you never know. That happened to a lot of people around COVID time. It's like all of a sudden, all these main stores, and especially all the small stores, were all closed. And so people were out trying to go online and buy gifts and things like that, and suddenly the online retailers blew up. Like, that's where they had the most growth. They made way more in sales there than they did this year, than that they did a couple years ago because of COVID. So there's just so many things to think about like that. It's really important to think about it. Talk to somebody about it, whether it be somebody who also sells things online, or whether it be just anybody, a friend, a family member, whoever, and just be like, what random catastrophe scenario can you think of for me so I can plan for what would I do in this situation so I'm not completely caught off guard. But also just keep in mind that no matter what you do, there's always going to be something that you didn't think of. So yeah, that's been my winter story so far. Things have kind of chilled out. I think it's been a little bit of a slower year, but it hasn't been slow for me. But it's been less sales than I recall it being last year. And another thing I wanted to point out, last year, I sold so much of a certain type of product that this summer and early fall, I started stocking up on supplies to make more of those products. And now this year, a completely different type of product has been my best seller. And the other product, I haven't sold very much of at all. So now I have a lot of extra supplies. And now I have to look and say, do I want to sell some of those supplies? Do I want to save them for next year and see if that particular thing kind of becomes a little more popular next year? And I'm not following super trendy stuff. It's not like that at all. Honestly, what it is it's snowflake magnets this year. Last year was the leaf and pumpkin and fall magnets. So this year is more of a winter year. People are more excited about winter, apparently. Last year, people were more excited about fall. And I mean, I was even selling these fall leaf things like into July or into January, like big time. I was so surprised to see so many sales for fall leaves. And this year, it's just like, I've had some sales, but it's, instead of 5 a day for 7 days straight, it's been like 1 or 2 every other day. So, just to kind of give a perspective on that. But the snowflakes, I just can't even believe how popular they are. I sold 45 snowflake magnets to one person. I'm just trying to picture what magnetics, their refrigerator, if that's where it's going to be, is going to be covered in snowflakes. And I know last year I sold a lot of snowflakes to one particular person, but they told me it was for their winter wedding and they had this particular reason and how they were going to use it. And they shared all of that with me when they ordered it. Whereas, this time, these people, no one's really mentioned it and it hasn't come up for me to really ask. I could ask, but I've been kind of busy. So yeah, sorry this is going on a little bit longer than I planned. I thought this would be a really short video, but I just wanted to give a lot of different scenarios, something for you to think about. And this is more to think about for next year or for whichever busy seasons you might have. And it's never too early to start thinking about Valentine's Day, Easter, summer, whatever future holidays and events that there are that you might sell for. So if you haven't been very successful with Christmas, you can move on. It's okay to move on. Don't be listing more Christmas stuff right now. It's too late, in my opinion. But, unless you're listing it for next year, basically, if you have it and it's made and you're ready, go ahead and list it anyway. But if you don't have it ready, I would start focusing on the future more than I would be sticking with Christmas. Some people will buy Christmas all year round. So, you can do that whenever you want. But yeah, that's basically all I had. I have my little Christmas tree in the background here for you guys. Hope everybody is enjoying the holiday season, whichever holidays that you celebrate. And thanks so much for sticking with me. I'm getting a lot more subscribers and everyone's watching my videos and I really appreciate it. Goimagine has had a lot of scammers/spammers leaving messages, and I know that's been a little bit frustrating, but overall hopefully everybody's having a successful season, and we'll be back soon. Thank you.